Most of you already know who I am, Gary DeWolf. I'm the Director of Sales for North America Distribution and OEM Sales, and I've been with Pulsafeeder for about 25 years now. Today, we're going to have two main speakers. I'd like to offer our first presenter here, Rotary Product Manager, Jeff Martin. Jeff was formerly an application engineer with us for about 15 years. Jeff's done a great job taking ownership of this market for Pulsafeeder. You know, with his knowledge and his different stages, knowledge of different stages of CBD extraction, he has created for our sales team here tools such as product and market roadmaps that'll help us stay focused on the applications that will win the most. Our other speaker today is Matt Brombaugh. Matt is our newest team member in the applications group with a chemical engineering degree. He's been with us for about a year now. He's taken the primary lead for us on the CBD applications because he's had some previous experience with distillation and liquid separation. So for today, our main topics of discussion are going to be what is CBD? The pumps that we use in the extraction process, opportunities in CBD and liquid separation. We got sales resources that we'll go over with you. And at the end, we'll save all the questions. We'll have a question and answer session at the very end. So how did we get into this market? Well, the market actually found us. It happened last year in January. One of our distributors, Flowline in California, sent a trial pump to one of their new customers that needed their advice and recommendation for a gear pump that was a bit more robust than what they were using in their systems, which happened, I believe it was Orberdorfer that they were using. So it only took about a month's trial for the customer to realize that they had the pump that they were actually looking for, because it did everything it needed it to do. So with that, they had ordered 20 new units in February. With that many units, you can understand why this had sparked our interest in pursuing it further. So to date, we have sold roughly 200 units in less than 18 months, which has a market value of just over $500,000, I believe. It's not often that you can enter a new or additional market like this with your current portfolio. And for you, our channel partners, the opportunities are greater. You'll be able to promote other items in your line card like valves and controls and maybe other pump technologies. The market size, it varies on who you look at or where you look in your searches, but the reports that we pretty much have come to know and believe is about $25 billion globally by 2025, with 60% of that market all here in North America. So that's why we're pretty excited about this and wanted to share it with you. So with that, I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to the expert, Jeff.
Thanks, Gary, and welcome everybody this afternoon. So we just wanted to start off the presentation today with a little bit about industrial hemp. What is that? What is CBD? And then we'll get into the details of where we see pumps being used mostly by equipment manufacturers in the market here, and then we'll get into some sales tools for you and some hopefully helpful tips that will help you win some opportunities. So industrial hemp or CBD, we've probably heard about that more and more frequently. But there has been some confusion in the past. It is similar to marijuana. It comes from the same plant, and if you can say it that way, cannabis. But it's different than marijuana. Industrial hemp has CBD in it, and marijuana also has CBD in it. The distinguishing factor is that industrial hemp has to have, according to federal laws, less than 0.3% THC, which is a psychoactive compound in that. So it's not doesn't have those properties that people typically associate with marijuana. So I apologize if I'm getting a little distracted here once in a while. I'm also kind of running the show here, so every time I might hear someone, make sure your microphones are all muted, and that'll be helpful for our presentation. Thank you. So industrial hemp, or CBD, I'll just refer to it as CBD, provides what many consider health benefits as found as in essential oils or other nutritional supplements. It can be found in consumable and topical products like oils, creams, lotions, candies, coffee, and other beverages. It's available online and in retail stores as a natural pain reducer and nutritional supplement. It's legal to grow and cultivate in every state in the United States of America, according to the passage of the federal 2018 Farm Bill. However, the ability to literally process the hemp into CBD oil varies from state to state. So it can be grown anywhere, but it can't be processed everywhere. I happen to know of some people that are growing industrial hemp in New York here, and they have to send their product to a different state where processing can be accomplished. It's turned into oil. So it varies from state to state. And currently, the use of CBD from industrial hemp, it's not regulated by the FDA. So there's been an explosion of use of this compound, CBD, and these are some of the benefits and some of the opportunities where this product is just continuing to grow. I also happen to know of the Canopy brands of products. I know people that work there, and it's one of their top target priorities in beverages and different consumables. So that's an overview of where we stand with being involved with industrial hemp CBD. And the next series of slides will be presented by Matt Brumbaugh. He's going to go through and look at the different steps of the typical extraction process and point out where there's pump opportunities in that process. So I'll let Matt take it away here.
Thanks, Jeff. Guys, welcome. I'm going to go through the different steps of the extraction process. We're going to break down each step of the process. Like Jeff said, we're going to talk about opportunities for pumps, different process conditions we've seen in each step along the way, and yeah, we'll wrap it all up. So the extraction process is kind of just it's an all-encompassing process. It starts with the cultivation, like Jeff said, of the industrial hemp. It's grown, it's harvested, it's shredded, it's dried out, it's put into storage. And then it's moved along to the actual extraction process where the oil is taken from the leaf. That's done in a few different ways. There's a couple of ways. One is to soak it in supercritical carbon dioxide, liquid carbon dioxide, or to do a solvent extraction. So different solvents that we've seen can either be ethanol, which is typically the most common just based on the price of the equipment needed to do that. But we've also seen other solvents like butane and propane used. From there, after the oil is extracted from the leaf, it's put through a filtration step where any sort of residual plant matter is removed. And this is kind of where we start to play a little bit based on the fact with our gear pumps, they're limited to 70 microns in solid size. So then we move to the solvent recovery. This is kind of the big hitter. This is where the majority of the ethanol is removed after so where the majority of the CBD oil and the ethanol is separated, it comes in at about 90 to 95% ethanol and is moved on. The ethanol is recovered and in some cases reused, most cases reused. And then the purified oil is then passed down through some additional purification steps. One being called winterization. It's a cooling step, so it's cooled. So waxes and lipids, they're kind of taken off the top as the oil is cooled, and then it moves to a decarboxylation step, which is an activation step of the CBD. So it's heated in this step, and then from there it gives CBD a better interaction with our bodies as a supplement. And then finally, it moves to a distillation step. It can be multi-stage distillation. It could be one distillation column, but this is that final separation step. It's kind of that final purification, the final removal of terpenes, fats, lipids, and any sort of remaining chlorophylls. Let's see. So as we talk through the process here, we're going to break it down a little farther. As you can see over here, highlighted in green are the steps that we'll talk about in this flow chart. And then we'll kind of dive a little deeper into them and talk about where we have pumps. So in these first three steps of the overall process, we're not as prevalent with our pumps here. In the extraction portion, we don't see necessarily any pumps, but in solvent storage, we've seen our pumps at play. This is, typically what we've seen in ethanol storage. It can be a little cooler. It varies in complexity. We've seen instances where they're pumping from just a drum to something a little more robust. But typically, we're just putting in some sort of eco pump in this stage, and it becomes a transfer pump. If the temperatures get a little cooler, we can't play, and that might go over to something like a Viking gear pump. But we do have some success putting pumps in that step. The extraction step, like I said, here it is where the biomass is mixed with a solvent. And like I said, in this case, we're talking, typically we're talking as an ethanol soak. And when ethanol is used, the terminology used in the market is called tincture. Tincture corresponds to a mixture of ethanol and CBD oil. And like I mentioned earlier, alternative methods used for extraction of the oils from the plant are also liquid CO2 and other solvents, mainly butane and propane. Those require a little different classification of your area. Then we start to get into XP equipment and so on and so forth. So filtration is the next step in this process. So we're removing any of the unwanted solids, plant matter. This is where we really start to get into utilization of our gear pumps. We are suitable up to 70 microns for solids in our gear pumps, and typically what we've seen is filtration in the CBD extraction is all the way down to a micron. So this is a good place where we start to put our pumps into play. So as we move down the process here on the right-hand side, now we're into solvent recovery. And this is kind of the main portion where we really start to get traction with our pumps. In the solvent recovery step, like I said, this is the bulk step for the removal of ethanol. So the ethanol is combined with the plants. You get this ethanol-rich mixture that's like 90% solvent, about 10% CBD oil. And the goal here is to remove off all the ethanol and retain the CBD oil. So there's three kind of main portions to this process where we've seen good success with our pumps. Is we see these in the tincture injection, so transferring the tincture from the solids removal, from the filtration into the evaporation step. Then we have an ethanol recovery step where the ethanol that's boiled off is then condensed, and we use a transfer pump to we use an eco as a transfer pump to kind of send it away and reclaim it. And then the crude that comes off the bottom, the crude CBD oil that comes off the bottom is another place where we see. So if you look here in the middle of this slide, what we've seen is success with the tincture injection. Like I said, that's a 90% solvent, 10% CBD oil. We're going to see thin viscosity. It's typically pumping into a vacuum, and it's up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So what we've seen work really well in this situation is the Isochem product line. For the solvent recovery, it's, we're recovering ethanol and usually it's in an atmospheric condition and relatively ambient temperatures. And so we've seen a lot of value with the eco pump in this particular case. And then finally for the crude transfer, so we take that crude that's been purified, the ethanol has been boiled off. It's typically a hotter process. The viscosity is going to be low when it's hot, but we also have seen that crude can set up really well in cooler conditions if left to cool. But we're pumping from a vacuum typically, and we've seen temperatures up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So, again, the Isochem plays really well in this part of the process. So the next step here, as we go down the flow chart, we go from solvent recovery. So we kind of take the bulk of the ethanol off, and we have a winterization process. This is a heat exchange process. The crude CBD oil is cooled, and it allows them to remove any remaining kind of fats and lipids. So what we see here is that they can cool it off and we can use this, but again, we're kind of pumping to and from a vacuum condition here. So we've seen Isochem play really well in this part of the application, and again, cooler temperatures in this step. So the last step here, as far as the process goes, is distillation. So, distillation, just typically, this is our final purification step, right? This is where they take the crude. They've set off most of the ethanol, and typically the units being used is a wiped film or a rolled film distillation, and there can be any kind of number of stages in the distillation. In the next couple of slides, I'll show you some examples of that. But we've seen in each stage of the distillation, we've seen a couple of pumps being used. One being the eco pump as the distillate removal pump. Again, anything boiled off the top, thin fluids, lower boiling point fluids are then reclaimed, condensed at the top, and then pumped away. We see those in an atmospheric condition and up to about 100 degrees F. The other portion of the distillation that we see our pumps being utilized is in the crude transfer pump. So in a multi-stage distillation or an application where you're pumping it downstream to be packaged, you have hot crude coming out of the bottom of the distillation column. Again, low viscosity when it's warm, pumping from the vacuum of the distillation column, but in a lot of cases, elevated temperature, so up to 300 degrees F. So here's an example of a 5-stage distillation, a wiped film distillation unit. And as you can see, in this singular unit, we see 11 pumps. So the ones labeled 1 are all the Isochem units. They're bringing, it starts with the the isochem that brings in the crude and then pumps away all the crude, and then each of the twos are the ecos. That's where we see the distillate recovery, where we're using the ecos for distillate recovery. So. And so, liquid separation as a whole, we're focusing today on the CBD market, but, we believe this market extends beyond just CBD. These same methods, a lot of you have probably seen these similar applications in other chemical processing, but this really applies to everything, that is some sort of liquid separation where we can maybe get in and utilize our pumps. All of these methods apply to any sort of botanical extraction, like an essential oil. I have a lot of friends who uses essential oils, buy them. They're very big things, and a lot of people use them for a lot of different things. So. And some of the keywords that we see, even in just talking with people about different processes, we're seeing, evaporation, distillation, solvent recovery, transfer. Those are some of the keywords. Those are kind of some of the key processes, the key unit operations that we're seeing these pumps put into. So again, evaporation is evaporation, whether it's CBD or whether it's applying to a different chemical process. So yeah, this market is definitely taking off in the CBD, but there's a lot of application beyond just CBD for this. And I think the next set of slides, we're going to kick it back to Jeff.
So let's see.
Jeff, this is Gary. You might be muted.
That's a Roger, Houston. I was muted. So I think I unmuted you or something. But anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to point out that you could see all these pictures that we're showing in here. We have permission to use these. We're already being used and packaged in with two of the largest extraction equipment manufacturers in the United States. They've centralized on our rotary products, Eco and Isochem. So in all these pictures, whether it be this large distillation system, they're all Eco, they're all Isochem products. Whether it be the distillation stage, if you look close, it's Eco and Isochem that are built right into their systems there. So we feel like we've made a really good inroad with these guys, and there's a lot of people that are manufacturing equipment. There's a lot of stones yet to be unturned, and there's a lot of opportunities out there because this is the equipment manufacturers, and they're selling their equipment to end users that are going to need service. They're going to need help to refine their process. They're going to need parts. They're going to need, and then that gives you an opportunity. We're going to talk about later that, while this is OEM equipment, there's opportunities once it gets in the end user's hands. There's VFDs, there's controls, there's valves, there's pressure, temperature gauges, vacuum switches, etc. So there's other opportunities out there in addition to what our pumps provide that would be an opportunity for you, the channel partner. So what I want to talk about is, where we see opportunities for you to make some inroads. Well, first of all, we want to at least talk about our competition. If you look at, this is called a market map or a process map, where we can see the pictures. The triangles are relative to where we see our equipment being used, and where this really applies to wherever pumps are used in that overall extraction process. You can see, just relatively speaking, that CO2 extraction are going to be higher pressure pumps. We should mention that typically in that front end of that process that Matt was showing that picture in the beginning, that solvent introduction, that extraction part of the process, when you're using CO2, those are really high pressures, upwards of like 5,000 psi. It's stored in a very cold, refrigerated state, so you need some heavy duty pumps down there. And during the extraction process, a specialized pump. So we see Leiwa there, and we see Viking pump in those places. But what we discovered in our journey is that we didn't look at CO2 in the beginning, but there are opportunities in CO2, because once it gets past that extraction stage, once it gets on into filtration, the CO2 extraction companies need to also apply ethanol or some type of solvent to take that product through to the final stages. So there's opportunities for gear pumps, whether it be CO2 extraction, whether it be ethanol extraction, whether it be solvent, whether it's butane or propane. We all have opportunities in there. So what are our advantages? We believe we've really built a good level of experience. We have been working directly with some of these equipment manufacturers. We understand their problems. We know what their difficulties are that they've had, and we've helped them work through them and help them. It usually comes down to programming, RPM control, making sure the equipment's properly cleaned when you go from one batch to the next. So we bring a lot of value as far as CBD experience to the table. Where we find ourselves being used also, you can see some names in there. We've been preferred over other manufacturers in some of these applications for quality and technology and just our ability to respond. Some of these equipment manufacturers started out with some of the names listed here, and when they had their experience with us, they really just took off. We've been over the top with service and customer focus, and we really want to win in this marketplace. So, we bring a customer focus, we bring experience, we bring technology, and we bring service. Our reputation is that we are attentive, we're responsive, we're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure the customer gets over the finish line with a winning application. So again, some of these names that you see in there were also mentioned in Matt's, but our biggest opportunities are in the distillation, in the solvent recovery, and to a little bit lesser extent in the filtration and winterization. That's where we see ourselves playing the most. So, what are the gear pump advantages for you for the Eco and Isochem product line? What can you expect? So basically, what we have determined is that we see some of these equipment manufacturers, it took them a while to understand that you can't have one pump fits all. And that's what we saw as we went to a lot of trade shows. We had people coming to us with pictures of pumps, not our pumps, but just pumps, because they went on the internet and they searched pumps and they thought that was the pump they needed. They didn't understand what was the best pump for the application. And as Matt alluded to before, every single stage in that process has got a little bit different pressures, a little bit different temperatures. The chemical and the liquid is varying in degrees with viscosity, and so you really can't just take one pump and put it in there. But we can break it down into two general categories. So first of all, Eco and Isochem, obviously we excel over peristaltic technology. This is not really an application for that. We can handle a more robust industrial high temperature application. And Eco and Isochem can easily handle the range of viscosities and temperatures a lot more cost effectively than just diaphragm pumps. And because they're batching and because they're metering and they're doing short runs, where the Eco and Isochems are really the pump of choice when you're ramping up or you want that variable speed and you want to have that control. We also, the gear pumps also offer a lot less complexity versus a diaphragm pump, so it's easier for people to grasp how to maintain and operate and service that equipment versus a diaphragm or other technology. And so when it comes down to what we offer, Eco and Isochem, many of you are familiar with the differences, but I just want to highlight them here. Pretty much Isochem hits all the marks with regards to viscosity, flow, temperature, pressure, vacuum application, tri-clamp fittings, and CBD extraction proven. The Isochem is a magnetically coupled steelless pump. Many of you know that. And it's preferred by the CBD extraction equipment manufacturers. Typically, the ratios we see them buying, they typically for every 2 pumps they buy, those are Isochems versus 1 pump being Eco, and so that falls directly within the application scenarios that we laid out before. The thing that really sets the Isochem apart is its ability to operate in a vacuum environment. In order to do that with Eco, you need to get into double mechanical seals, secondary flushing applications and treating that mechanical seal with a lot more work, whereas the Isochem, it can operate in that vacuum condition. And then also, for the Eco, which is a mechanically seal-driven pump, you can see that it doesn't have quite the extensive temperature range as Isochem. So when it's vacuum or temperature in those applications, Isochem is the true winner there. And it's a little bit more expensive than the Eco, but you get a lot more robust product, and it's in the end, the customer is going to be a lot happier. So in any case, the Eco is really the tried and true pump to really move those ethanols and those solvents back out of the process and into recovery. So those are what we see as a breakdown between why you would use one pump over another in one of those applications. It really comes down to vacuum and temperature. You want Isochem. If it's just atmospheric pressure, if it's relatively low temperatures, then you're going to be going with Eco. Another advantage that we've brought to the table here is that we're introducing a new tri-clamp feature, and we're doing that in response to working with these extraction equipment manufacturers. They build pretty much all their equipment around a tri-clamp arrangement, and so we have designed a brand new center housing for the Eco product line and Isochem product line. And the thing that's unique is that it's a very, very short port to port. There's no feed on it. It's really designed for a compact installation with the end user, where there's a lot of close 316 piping in there. The primary purpose of the tri-clamp fitting is not to make the pump a quote unquote 3A sanitary pump. As we've been told by the manufacturers, what they want is ease of maintenance and for cleaning. And so that's why we've designed this feature for them. It's compact, it's specifiable. No one else has this type of footprint and port to port. And also it's machined from a solid casting. A lot of times people will take and screw in NPT adapter ports, and you wind up, when you get into the center of the pump, you can have trapped areas where threads and product can get trapped in there and it can't be cleaned out. Well, this is machined from a solid casting, and we're really excited about bringing this to the table. So it's available in Isochem and Ecos sizes 2 through 8. But the footless version, which you see in the pictures here, is on the close couple Eco and on the Isochem 2 and 4, where the motor supports the whole pump. There's no need for feet. But that allowed us to bring in those port-to-port dimensions real tight and close. So you reduce the real estate, you reduce the footprint, and you give the customer the ability to work on these pumps easily and clean them out and service them. So we also wanted to introduce you to finding opportunities. There's industrial hemp processors, and there's companies that are manufacturing equipment that are used to do the extraction, to do the processing. So as far as industrial hemp processors, they're the end users of the equipment. And they're going to be in any state in the United States where industrial hemp can be processed. And I jokingly in the beginning this coined, follow the ethanol, follow where the solvents are being used, and that's not going to only lead to CBD opportunities, but just tying back in with what Matt said, any opportunity where there's solvent extraction going on, you're taking some type of botanical compound and you're dissolving it and you're extracting those elements out of it that are going to be used in end products. That's where our equipment is going to have opportunities to be used. So first of all, is it, if you're able to process it in the state that you're at, then you're going to have people buying this equipment, and they're going to need the services of someone that has some expertise. We're discovering that there's different levels of experience of people that wind up having this equipment in their hands, and they really they want to get the end product out so they can sell it. They want to turn their crop into cash, but they're not pump experts. So there's opportunities there for you to look at that. I would check with your local state laws, and if there's people that can process, then there's going to be equipment out there that we can be part of. As far as the actual manufacturers of the equipment, manufacturers can be located anywhere in the United States, or Canada, for that matter. Canada, it's legal everywhere. But in the U.S., we find mostly these in California, Colorado, Florida, Massachusetts, Michigan, Ohio, Texas, and Wisconsin, and the list is growing. There's a lot of people that are getting into the equipment, process equipment manufacturing market. And also, these equipment manufacturers are expanding overseas. They're moving their products into the UK, the EU, and they're moving into opportunities in Asia and Southeast Asia. So wherever they manufacture process equipment, distillation, solvent recovery, those opportunities, we're going to have a play there. Just some tips for you on organizations that promote and monitor the cannabis industry. If you're looking for leads where crops are growing, where equipment's being manufactured, where users are processing and selling, these are really good organizations here that I recommend taking a look at. One is the NCIA, the National Cannabis Industry Association. They advocate for the responsible cannabis industry, and they have a website there. And the other one is MJ Biz Daily, Marijuana Business Daily. It's the cannabis industry, financial, and legal news. It's really a very big, sophisticated organization. And both of these organizations sponsor trade shows. So if you want to learn more about this industry, I would check out these websites and look for trade shows that are happening near you. There was one just up in Boston around the turn of the year before the COVID emergency we're in. But there's still some stuff scheduled for later on this year. There's one in Detroit. There's one in San Francisco. There's one in Atlantic City. And if you really want to see something that's really exciting, I would recommend attending the MJ BizCon in Las Vegas, Nevada this December. I believe that there was over 25,000 attendees at this event. And me, as a Rotary product manager, I had never seen so many of our gear pumps all over the place. So I was really excited about those opportunities. So it's growing. Here's some opportunities where you can look into the industry and look into the markets and see what's going on in your area. So what added value can you bring as a manufacturer representative of Pulsafeeder? So for the equipment manufacturers, they still, if they kind of fall into 2 or 3 categories. There's large OEMs that are just, gigantic industries, and then there's middle of the road type people that are manufacturing equipment, and then there's end users. But the equipment manufacturers are still in the learning stages. They still need to develop some expertise if you can find them, and we've identified some of those opportunities already. And if you're interested in knowing them, please email us. At the end, we'll talk about that. But these manufacturers are also expanding. So, Matt talked about the extraction part of the process. Some of these manufacturers were just making tanks and soak bins and so forth, and centrifugal separation equipment. But the larger ones are moving into building equipment for the solvent recovery, the winterization, and distillation. They want the whole. They want to be the A to Z, soup to nuts equipment supplier. And it's not just pumps that they're buying. The equipment manufacturers that we're selling pumps to right now, the representatives that are involved in those areas, they're selling variable speed motors, controllers, temperature, pressure, vacuum gauges and switches, and valves and fittings. So, and that's just a sample of the things that they're providing. So if there's equipment manufacturers, these are opportunities for you. If there's end users near you that are using this equipment, they need someone that they can trust. We've discovered a lot of these end users are really very sensitive about their particular brand, their particular formula, their particular chemistry, and they really want someone that's going to be able to come in and they can trust, but help them get the most out of their system, help them make sure they understand how to operate and maintain these pumps. Someone they can call and get a local service guy to come out and take a look at that and help them to learn how to operate their equipment. So a lot of them are just kind of going from growing to like being equipment operators. And so that was that's what I wanted to talk about as far as that. Gary, I wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to jump in, if you had anything else you wanted to add to my slides, or Matt.
There's a big echo going on. Just a lot about the excitement, I guess. As Jeff mentioned late in this last slide, the trade shows. It was very exciting to walk down every aisle and see a Pulsafeeder Eco or Isochem pump. We're not used to seeing that, being the top and the lead of a market, at least here in North America. Generally, our competitors seem to outdo us or get on the jump of things before we do, but we definitely are ahead of Liquiflow, our biggest competitor. And then our quality is what's really taken us into this market as our first example, a year and a half ago. It only took them a month to realize that our pump was definitely more robust and had more quality than what they were using. So, if any of you got any questions, this is the time to raise your hand, and hopefully we'll be able to answer those for you.
Well, I'm gonna just jump in there, Gary. I got a few more things to go over, and then we'll have a little question answer session at the end there, a couple more minutes. So,
Okay.
but sales resources that are available to you. If you're interested in this, what we presented today, if you want to know more information, if there's any way we can help you, but we want to make available to you this presentation. We can certainly give it to you. And we've got some articles that have been written and are in some publications, metering and transfer pumps for CBD extraction. And there are opportunities for primarily for our rotary product line. We're moving into those higher pressure products with the Pulsapro, as you know. But here's some good information to learn more about the CBD, things you can hand to your customers and show them that, hey, we know what we're doing. We're in this market. We're being used in this market. We're being depended on. We have this flyer that's available that shows where the pumps can be used and what we can offer. And we also have been accumulating, we have a reference list of the equipment manufacturers that are using us. And we also are accumulating a list of target accounts that are at various places around the country. And we just want to be sensitive to that. If you're interested about what manufacturers are in your area, please email me or Gary, and we'll get that list out to you. And also, lastly, as you're aware, we have, you can build these rotary products now in iPass. There's a little bit of intelligence behind it now, where you can, input viscosities and temperatures and so forth, and you can select those pumps. As far as the tri-clamp fittings, we hope to have that plugged into iPass here in the next month. I believe we're getting near the finish line on that, but it is available behind the scenes here. And we've got our website and pulsa.net, which has information out there for you to use. So with that, I'll give it over to Gary. He's going to run the Q&A time here.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Matt. That was great information. Really appreciate your efforts on this to help us out here in the outside world. Any questions that anybody has? Let's open up your mic and ask away.
So it looks like we got a couple questions on the chat, so I want to make sure we address that. So the first question was, I was just thinking about materials, and someone else asked, is stainless steel the most common for this? So absolutely, these applications and installations, the equipment are pretty much standard on, they're standard on 316 stainless steel. So, with the atmospheric applications and nominal temperatures, most of the construction are, you can do Teflon gearings and bearings and wear plates. When you get into a little bit higher temperatures, peak gears and carbon wear plates and bearings are fine for those applications as well. So that's the answer your question about materials, but also, can we share the presentation? Whoever wants a copy of that, just please go ahead and email that to me. It was in the invitation there. You can go ahead and reach out, and I'll be glad to share this presentation with you. I've got a couple more questions here. Can heat jackets be put on these pumps? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, on that large 5-stage distillation system that you saw a picture of, some of these manufacturers are actually putting heat jackets on these pumps, because what happens is that between batches, it's really important to clean out this equipment with the solvent and make sure you clean out that pump. If you don't, then what happens is that CBD oil, if it remains in the pump and it gets cool, it gets very, very thick and sticky. And so there's been situations where the pumps haven't been properly cleaned out, and they, especially with like an eco pump used in the wrong application, they started them up and they had some difficulties. So jackets are good and are a good idea, especially in those applications where you're pumping that crude CBD, and it can get cold and sticky and thick when it's in between batches or they don't do any cleaning. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, we got another question come in.
Okay.
Some standards as FDA or 3A required for these pumps in this application? Not right now. There are no 3A requirements. The FDA has really not gotten involved too much with this yet and created regulations. You may have missed a slide that Jeff covered the tri-clamp fittings that we're incorporating on our castings if required. This is primarily just for a cleaning process, but not something that is actually required by FDA.
Oh, here's another question. If the FDA does get involved and require a sanity design, you're ready to offer that. So at this time, we need to do some investigation, deeper investigation into that, but and so we'd have to get back to you on that. But right now, for the time being, actually, to give you a little bit of information, when we have talked to not just equipment manufacturers of CBD oil, but equipment manufacturers for liquid separation process, which provides equipment for pharmaceuticals and your Johnson and Johnsons, your Meyer, your other names I can't mention. They said that in those applications that tri-clamp and sanitary fittings are not required by those end users. They're finding that being this being a new market, a new application for a lot of these CBD equipment manufacturers, that they tend to be overcautious and put very high specifications and requirements that aren't seen by other companies that are in the same type of work, that are producing more strictly controlled compounds, are not requiring these types of fittings or pumps. So I'm not an expert in that area. I'm just telling you what I've heard. So that's what I have. But we do know that could be a challenge in the future, and we want to make sure we run as hard at this opportunity right now as we can. So we're going to be looking at that.
I don't think we'll have anything else come in, so let's close this up. And again, thank you everybody for joining our presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day.